A quick note before we begin. The stories you're hearing today are powerful, but they can also be activating. Please take care while listening and do what you need to do to feel safe, whether that's pausing, skipping ahead, or coming back later. We appreciate you listening. Hey, I'm Sam, and this is The Phoenix Table, raw stories from the fire for people rising out of the messy middle. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, pull up a chair, and join us, because we all rise better together. Nicole, thank you so much for joining me today. You want to start off by telling us a little bit of background?
So I had a really fast growing company called Baby Legs, and I started it when my daughter was little. She had diaper rash, so I would cut off my snowboard socks, pull them up over her knees, protected her knees when she was crawling, and she could have a little naked bum. And within 3 years, we were in 85 countries. We were in all Target stores, all Nordstroms. And for anybody who's run a product company, it's a lot of money in inventory. There's actually not a lot of cash that's flowing. Like, it's very seasonal. And so a line of credit is really important in that. But because we were growing so much and we did so well, the perception was we had a lot of money. You know, we were getting, we were on TV nationally, locally, getting international news. And Baby Legs now are in the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle.
How cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And people with kids, you know, a little bit younger than my daughter and her age, well, she's 21 now. When they hear about Baby Legs, they get so excited. And I still get that response from people, you know, and it was such a trend at the time, and something that people wanted. And for us, for me, it was like this little gift of love. If you love these little kids, they have baby legs. You give them to them. They put them on their arms, they put them on their legs, and it's something just so cute and connecting. And my mission was to make parents' lives better. And so every day, that's what we did, is we made parents' lives better. And I ended up moving my mom in with us. And we bought a big house because we had to have a big house to secure a big line of credit. That's how it works. I started in 2005.
Okay.
Yeah. And then at the end of 2008, we're in the big house. My mom's living with us. And it was the end of 2007, beginning of 2008, we had an investment property with partners, a little ski house, and we had our big house. And the banks called the line of credit due on the business. And we had a $1.4 million line, and we were $930,000 in. But that day, it was December, I believe December 15th, 2007, like everything stopped. Our Amex stopped. We would use it, we'd ship $100,000 on it every month, and that was just our shipping expenses, and we couldn't ship, and it was right before Christmas, and that was our busiest time. And through Christmas, I knew we would use the rest of the line because we needed it to pay employees and everything, because we shipped the most right before Christmas. We shipped to all Target stores, all Nordstroms, like all the baby boutiques, and so we were out cash and into this line, and so all the money stopped on that day.
And it happened because the market burst, right? That was right
Yeah.
around the time when the real estate bubble burst.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was calling Amex. I'm like, please just loosen up some money so we can ship. I got a $20,000 limit, and I had to pay off every $20,000 that we, had on shipping on that. But that took a little while to loosen up to be able to use the Amex again, because then it's like, well, how do we ship? Because our FedEx is tied to that, and our DHL and everything, like all of our shipping methods are tied to that. So there was this scramble, and then our bank turned our line into a loan and said, hey, you owe us $930,000. and we didn't have cash in the bank because that was our leanest time of the year. I
Right.
didn't have money for payroll. I didn't have money for bills, and money wasn't going to come in from our vendors until February, March. And one of my employees, Andrew French, who I am so thankful for, he lent me $120,000
Oh, wow.
so that we could make it through that time until we started getting the money back in from Target and all the other big ones because they take a while to pay.
I'm sure.
And I was able to pay him back by March completely. And then I went to some of my EO friends, and I had my business coach at the time, Mark Moses, because I was like, I don't know what to do here. And I had two EO friends that would have given me $500,000 a piece.
Wow.
And to help, but that would have had to go to the bank.
Right.
And not into operations, not into inventory. So 2 days after the crash, I got a phone call from the CEO of a sock company in New York. He said, I'm at Target and my COO said that I need to talk to you because Target loves your product and they like your designs. And, he said, I need to know about you. And I knew he wanted to buy the company from that conversation because I'd had those conversations before and they didn't know our financial position. And I wanted to keep the most people employed that I could. And if I sold to a bigger company as opposed to taking the $1 million, $1 million wouldn't have helped the company grow or, keep the trajectory. It would have just paid back the bank.
Right.
And paid the Amex, like
Right.
it wouldn't have paid for that much. And I still needed a line of credit to operate. So going with the company in New York was the better option from, keeping the company alive.
But that's heartbreaking. That must have been the most difficult decision to wrestle with.
I mean, at the time, I was so overwhelmed with everything. I was 31.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this was my first company.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought the best choice was to sell it to the guys in New York. We had our first meeting in January, and I didn't ever think I would sell it. I never thought about an exit plan. And we had a due diligence folder in my office, and I always had my documents in order. We had really clean systems and process, a good ERP system we had just implemented. And so we had our international distributors could all order collaboratively online.
It's amazing.
We were selling product through our web store, and we were selling to retailers in the US. And it was all very organized and transparent. Then January, we had our first meeting. In order to sell it, I would have to buy out my mom and my aunt and uncle. And they had loaned me money in the beginning. They didn't invest. They loaned me money and I gave them 5%.
Got it.
So my aunt and uncle had 5 and my mom had 5. And my mom decided to move out of our place and move in with my aunt and uncle and in Vegas, and they tried to sue me because they didn't like the amount of money that I was going to give them. And the amount of money that I was going to give them was more than their shares were worth. And so while going through due diligence and all of this stuff, I also had to deal with their lawyer and all of the back and forth with that. And that was really heartbreaking. Like, I remember days where I was just crying because I was so, just heartbroken and upset about it.
Yeah.
And I still had to make it through because I still had a team and they had families that needed to get fed. It was a lot. And I had a daughter and a husband,
A family as well.
Yeah. Still to go home and play mom and be that person for my kiddo. And I'm going to New York and I'm going to trade shows and I'm doing all the things and getting press and all the stuff we need to do still to operate the business. we agreed on that I would own 30% of a new company that we formed together. And so I would still run the Seattle office. And this company in New York, we would do sort of an operational merger. Anything in the marketing area, anything where the brand touched the customer.
Yeah.
I wanted control over that. And so that was design and any marketing, communications, PR, that sort of thing. I wanted final say. So we put that into the contract. And when we went to New York, I took on one of the trips where we were going to go sign documents because we did a bunch of trips back and forth. They came out. There's a lot of due diligence with this. And on this trip, my lawyer said that he's like, oh, I see you sign these documents in regards to the mom situation and aunt and uncle. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, I didn't sign that. He said, well, your signature's on them.
What?
So my signature had been forged.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm in New York City crying, with this situation because I couldn't believe that happened. Their claim was I defrauded them, which I didn't. Mm-hmm. And their lawyer saw that. So we didn't go to court or anything because I just let them look at our accounting, look at our books, like completely transparent and open.
Right.
And we had a very clean record of everything for, since the beginning of the business of where all the money went.
Right.
And there have been movies and stories about things like this before. And I can so relate to the situation because from the outside, it looks nice and shiny. And from the inside, you don't have a lot of cash and it's tight and it's stressful and there's so many moving parts. And this was my first company and I'm learning. I didn't go to school for business. I studied history, German, and photography.
Yeah, and all very important foundations for business, right?
Yeah. They did help with that eye and the creativity. And that's totally what I learned I brought to it was I knew what people would buy and I could design things that people would buy and love. Yeah. And that was my magic. Anyways, this whole thing was just not planned. It was heartbreaking. And, my mom had been living with us for 3 years and working for me too.
Right.
And I really valued the relationship with her and my daughter too. So for me, that was a really hard part of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm in New York and I had my men that were there with me, my broker, my COO, my accountant, and we were going to this celebratory dinner. And at that dinner, in the back of the restaurant, I was sexually assaulted by the CEO of the company that was buying mine.
Nicole.
And I remember one of our rides in a cab, we were going to a trade show in New York City, and he had said to me how I intimidated him. So you always dress nicer than me, and you're smarter than me. And this was the CEO of the company.
Right.
And at that time, it was before Me Too. And so his COO was like, well, everybody knows he's like that. Nobody's going to care. Like, nobody's going to do anything about it. And I told the guys that were with me at breakfast the next day, and these were all men that were older than me, and they said, well, you do what you need to do to get the deal done.
Push it down, push through, basically be quiet.
Be quiet and do whatever he wants you to do. And so the next day in the office, I looked at him and I said, you and I need to have a conversation. So he and I went to lunch together and I said, I was like, that's not okay. What happened? He's like, it won't ever happen again. I promise it won't. I said, you know that it will? Like, what are we going to do about this?
Wow. Good for you.
I mean, it didn't do anything effective. It was like acknowledging it.
Yeah.
But he still did it again when we were in his office in New York one time.
Mm.
And if I would say anything, it puts everybody's jobs at risk in my company. It puts mine and my family's income. And Yeah, it was, looking back at it now, like 15 years later, more than 15 years later.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like those men should have stood up for me.
Absolutely.
The ones that I paid to be there, to have my back. And they should have said something to him too.
Absolutely.
They need to call, the men need to call each other out on their stuff.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it was a weird situation that way.
That's a tough situation to be in. Because if I were in your shoes, you knew you had to take this deal to potentially save this product you adore, to give your employees a chance to move forward, to give your family some kind of financial stability, but then to also be wrestling with this, Nicole. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. Yeah. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
No.
And this was in such a condensed timeline. This all happened from January to March, from when we first met. And we ended up closing the deal April 15th. And usually due diligence takes longer time, but we were organized. And then we spent the next few months doing operational merger. And I was in New York for a week out of every 3. And what I learned is we had really great operations. The design was magic. The story was magic. So in that time, we had put up a new website and really paid attention to SEO. So we were doing about $20,000 a month selling leg warmers for babies on our website. And then when we turned on the new site, we were instantly up to $200,000 a month.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, with great margins. And we paid a lot of money to do the user experience surveys and user interface and ask users why they were buying. And it was to support me or to support Sarah.
Oh,
that's why they converted. Our shopping cart. Yeah, our conversion rate was high because of that. And so there was a little picture of me and Sarah throughout the website, and you could read more. And that our story was important for the buyers, whether it was a gift giver or a parent. And then he wanted to get rid of our story. The new CEO, he wanted to wash us completely out of the business. And this was the first brand that they had purchased. They manufactured for brands, but they had never owned a brand before.
Got it.
And I learned the things that I was good at that nobody else could do. And I remember putting together a line of designs and being in New York, and the CEO couldn't look at me anymore because he was trying to fight for this one design to go in. But if you've ever been to a store, you see everything matches in a section, right? You don't put a bright blue in with baby blues, like bright blue and yellow with your pastels. It just doesn't look right.
Right.
And so he wanted this one design in the line. And I said, no, that doesn't match. We can do a whole line that's these colors, but it doesn't match. And this was my area of authority. But because he signed the checks, my team started ignoring what I said. My COO even said, well, the checks are coming from New York, so I'm not going to listen to you anymore.
Oh, man.
So within the first few months, I was just rendered completely ineffective. But one thing, I had access to the Google Analytics on the website, and I can see when they pulled our pictures out of the website, sales dropped in half.
That's what did it.
So they lost $1 million in the first year of profit because they didn't want to keep telling that story. And then I know they lost international distributors and, telling that story, having emotional connection, the emotional connection of a brand and a customer is so important. And it took a downswing after that time period in business, and it's on the upswing again. And we see this is why influencers and why, CEOs have to have a presence, because people want to do business with those that they know, like, and trust, which is
right.
Everybody knows that from, the 1920s, people knew that. And the way that we know, like, and trust people now, if we don't actually know them, is they need to have content out there online.
Right.
And the average buyer needs to see 7 hours of that person's content now before
Wow.
converting. So I guess that's what I take going forward too, is that emotional connection is really key in any business. I mean, I teach humans how to use AI now.
Right.
I started a marketing agency after this one, but it's that know, like, and trust that matters so much. Like, why should I trust you? Why should I hire you? What are your credentials? And if you can clearly see them out online everywhere, it's easy conversion. It's easy yes, because I know that you understand my pain. I know what your background is, and it aligns with what I'm looking for.
Right.
And so now I'm getting more of the inbound because of all the stuff that I've put out there. But after Baby Legs, I was quiet.
Right.
I was not on social media. I didn't do anything until the last 3 years.
When did you end up parting ways?
So it was after that summer that I just started staying home because the people in the office didn't listen to me. Once we finished the operational merger, it was pretty much done. So we negotiated my second exit. I basically got a paycheck for 6 months or so until we did the paperwork the next April 15th.
How did it feel parting ways? Like, did you feel good about it, or?
Well, so when we signed the first deal to do the sale, we were in the lawyer's office in New York, and I started crying. And the set of documents, it's like, wait, it's as tall as I am.
Sure.
And they're laid out. They have these document holders on these big tables in the big conference rooms. And there's, hundreds of pages of things you have to sign. And I was bawling my eyes out the whole time. And everybody, like the men there, the lawyer and the CEO and the people, they did not know how to act. And I was like, I couldn't control it. Like, I do not know what's happening to me or why, but I was just bawling all day long, uncontrollably as we're going through this. And when I left the office, I was alone. I had gone to New York alone on that trip. And that's when I met up with my EO friend. I saw him make a post, and he was close to where that office was. And I came over, and we chatted, and that was like, I'll never forget that, just being like having that person to connect with after that.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It was close to Times Square too. And I'm walking around in New York where it's super busy, just like sobbing. So the second exit was not so emotional. There was more fear around it because financial instability and,
Sure.
we had, this goes down a whole different rabbit hole. But we had a house on the market with these business partners in the worst real estate market ever.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let us sell. They held the deal up because it was slightly profitable, but it wasn't as profitable as they wanted. Well, then the market's declining and declining, and then we're looking at a loss just to sell it. So then we said yes to selling it as a loss, and we each shared the loss. They sue us to try to take the entire loss. They wanted us to take it. So they're suing us, and we ended up having to file bankruptcy, sell our house and everything, because our lawyer said, well, that's the only way they'll stop suing you, like that they'll stop taking you to court. And so we filed personal bankruptcy. They sued us in bankruptcy court. They persisted. Yep. So I had to go to bankruptcy court and testify. And it took 2 years to deal with that. So that was in parallel. It also triggered an IRS audit.
Oh my God.
It triggered an IRS audit because of whatever they were doing. And so then we got audited for the next 9 years.
Oh my gosh.
And it was they filed it wrong with Homeland Security, the IRS did. And so then I had this status where I would get pulled into secondary every time coming into the US, and I'd go back and forth with Canada. Anyway, it was such a mess, and it was like mess upon mess upon mess
For a
for
sustained period.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. The amount of resilience and like mental fortitude it must have taken to just keep going is incredible.
Well, and when I was wearing that raincoat on the Duwamish walking I just remember I'm like, how much more can I take? Like how I feel like I'm just going to break down or something, or break, like something should break, but nothing did. You know, like I could feel sad for a while. I was depressed, but I wrote a book because I didn't want to talk to people, and they wanted to hear how I did what I did with baby legs, you know? I reconnected with a friend from high school, and she was my writing partner and helped pull these stories out of me. And I wrote a book when I was depressed. You know, it's like there's always these outlets and connections and humans that were important for the process.
Is that what got you through, kind of leaning into that connection and telling the story and just keep one foot in front of the other?
Yeah. And at that time, my daughter was like 4 years old, 5 years old, and 6, 7, you know, and I wanted to be there for her and be able to connect with her, you know, and like Sarah was kind of my North Star in all of that too. You know, it's just being there as a whole person for my child.
Yeah.
Because this could have affected her if I had been different in that situation. Like, no matter what's going on, I just have something where I fight for joy. And it's my BHAG in life to bring joy to 1 billion people.
Can you explain that concept in case somebody's listening and hasn't heard that before? Yeah.
It's the big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
But it's the thing that will probably also never be done. But I know I've reached millions of people because anyone who had baby legs, we sold millions of pairs of baby legs. And anyone who's opened those package and put them on a baby or sees them on a baby, like they're adorable and it brings joy. You know, and what I do now when I see people's faces light up because they get something for themselves out of whether I do a workshop, speaking, training, their classes, whatever. Like I know there's those moments of joy that I bring. So I can't quantify it all. And that's my mission, is just those little moments of joy, because you know, it's normal to have sad days and to be depressed too. I have a friend who struggles with depression, but he still comes over and we play Scrabble together. He's like, because he knows that I'm okay with him if he's not okay.
Yeah.
And so in a way, it's this like little bit of joy, like this little bit of normalcy of like, even if it's contentment, not happiness.
Yeah.
That we're spending time together. And we go to the rooftop of our building and in Vancouver, and we'll sit by the window at sunset time and play Scrabble and have our like Pellegrino and lime. You know, that's our
I love that. That sounds nice.
Yeah. And those little moments, you know, and like with my daughter car camping, we literally put a mattress in the back of the car and would like go on a road trip for a week. Yeah. That's one of the important things. It's like, it's no matter what we do, we could be on an airplane waiting to get off the airplane or stuck on the tarmac or something. But if you're with that person that you love and care about, you're with friends that you're connecting with, it's okay. And you can enjoy that company and you can enjoy those moments, even if it's not necessarily an enjoyable time, you know?
Right.
You can make it that way.
And so you're about 15 years-ish away from the original, you know, origin of this story, right? What is like something that you've kind of reflected on in these last 15 years and thought, you know, if I had known this then, what I know now, you know, things maybe would have been different. I'm curious if you've had any of those.
I don't know if about things being different. There's things that maybe I wish like that those men should have stood up for me.
Absolutely.
And now I would call out the guys. I call out the guys. I don't have a problem with that. And that's something that just took me time to find my voice. And I went through so much leadership training, therapy.
Yeah.
And what I realized, I was so quiet in the moments that mattered, and being able to find my voice was my challenge, because my voice when I was a kid got me in trouble. Like at home, it was not acceptable to have that voice.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it feels scary to speak up because, something bad will happen. And so the more that I do it, and even if I'm scared, like if I feel scared, because that's just, part of my history, even if I feel scared, I'll still do it.
Was there any parting thoughts or advice you'd want to give if someone's kind of in the thick of it, going through, several sustained periods of just really difficult times?
I think that's the time we need to reach out. I had no clients for quite some time during COVID. It was tough. We lost everything. And then for whatever reason, Q4 last year, we lost 95% of our business because every client had some leadership change. But then January was our best month ever.
Wow.
And so once you've been through these ups and downs, this was like a fast time of up and down from COVID. And then, last year, that wasn't so many years to have that happen again. And like it's just normal to have those ups and downs. And if you have the people you can talk to, it's so helpful. Like I love my little group of guys that I can call up, in any of these moments, whether it's emotional, family stuff, or whether it's business stuff. I have people that have my back. And so finding that is so important, I think, and being that for other people too. You can lose people, you can lose clients, lose your team. So the more that you connect, the more of a safety net there is. And I do feel like if I was in a jail cell at 3 a.m. in pretty much any country in the world, I would have someone to call.
And don't we all wish we'd be in that position?
Yes. And so I told a friend who's going to Bali, I have a really good, he is like my brother from another mother. We met from EO and AI things that we do together. We were talking last night again. And there's a trainer at my gym. I really like him. He's Brazilian. He's going to Bali. And I said, hey, if you need someone to call at 3 a.m. because you're stuck in a ditch or something, I will give you this person's phone number to like connect with them on WhatsApp. Yeah. And, I tell my friend over in Bali and like, then I can be that for somebody else too. And make introductions judiciously, but also like that they're two good humans who would enjoy meeting each other, if they ever needed to. And so introducing people, I think, is a really important part of that too. It's like, it's not just for me, but to share that.
I think that's so important that you do that. And I think it ties back to your ultimate mission, which is to bring joy to people.
Yeah. And you know what? It took years, but, I talked to my mom. And it took a lot of years of going through stuff. And, our relationship will never be what it was before. But, I texted her the other day because she had some knee surgery and just checking in to see how she's doing.
Yeah.
Because I also want the relationship for my daughter.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I am that person, like I can be that person. I am that person in the family too, who can connect with the people that even other people might not want to connect with, because every family has their, different dynamics, but it's like, it's just, as long as the relationships are not detrimental, because there's certainly boundaries to be set,
right?
But to keep them in a place where, where they can be as connected as they can.
Thank you for joining me on the Phoenix Table. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, review, and subscribe, and make sure to share this story with someone who might need to hear it. Remember, we rise better together.